Hello, Facebook family. I am Dr. Sharika Simone. Welcome back to another Friday. And tonight we have a wonderful, wonderful topic on the table for us just to dive into. I can't wait. We are talking about the cognitive malnutrition among diverse learners. Let me say it again. Let me slow down. The cognitive malnutrition among diverse learners. Unboxing equity in education. Whew, I am excited just thinking about those words. And tonight we have with us Miss Jelena Smith Hunter, and she is the author of an upcoming book that I am telling you, it promises to give you what the title says, and I just cannot wait to get my hands on it. Welcome tonight. I'm here with my awesome co-host, Dr. Shelley. How are you? Hey, so
Hi, happy Friday. I'm
yes,
excited as much as you are to hear what Mrs. Hunter has to say about her book and all this new terminology that I've been learning this week. So let's just jump into it.
jump into it.
Yes, thank you so much for
Jelena,
allowing me to be here.
absolutely. So tell us a little bit
Thank
about
you.
yourself, and then we're going to dive into tonight's conversation.
Awesome. Well, I have been in education for the past 16 years, and I have devoted my entire career to serving diverse learners, working in Title I schools and environments. I have had the privilege and the opportunity to serve so many different communities, from being a teacher to being a specials teacher, to working in the district office, to being an instructional coach and an administrator. I have had a wide variety of experience in serving students and teachers. And currently, I am at the Clark Atlanta University College of Education working on my doctoral degree. Go Panthers! I am just so excited to have had the opportunity to use my degrees in teaching and learning and curriculum and instruction, in urban educational leadership, in order to help us all to unbox equity.
That is just awesome to hear. Just hearing all of your experiences, I can tell already we're in for a treat tonight with all those wealth of knowledge. I consider you, and this is not, any way to demeanor, you have been around the block, and that's a good thing. When it comes to education, you have been around the block, and that's a good thing because that means you have the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge that we need in order for us to be so efficient with the job we do, so we can be able to educate others and to support others in this profession. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yes,
So
thank you so much.
let's talk.
Yes.
So the topic we have tonight, the cognitive malnutrition among diverse learners. Okay. And when I first spoke with you, you utter those words and automatically I just shivered. You said malnutrition among diverse learners. Now, I know what malnutrition means because, of course, being an individual who has who listens, reads, and when we think about different individuals who may be going through a period where they have no food, and you always see those commercials on TV where children are starving and they're deprived of those essential, important things they need: food, water, right? So automatically I think about malnutrition and I'm thinking, okay, cognitive and diverse learners. So of course I'm breaking the statement apart. I'm like thinking, okay, they are being deprived of something essential that is needed in order for them to be able to grow cognitively, socially, emotionally, and so forth. And when we talk about unboxing, and then you mentioned the word equity in education, then it all came crashing down. I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be good. So let me ask you first and foremost, why, when we think about equity, why is equity such a problem when it comes to diverse learners?
Equity is definitely a problem with our diverse learners for reasons that many people don't know. We usually equate diverse learners barriers to learning, to their race, their zip code, their lack of access to resources or language, when really it's more historical than that. And as you mentioned, when you think about that cognitive malnutrition that has happened to the diverse learner over history, we need to think about what that means. You know, our normal response when we're at school and we face a student who has been malnourished, maybe not having enough food, not having clothing or shelter, right? We have a response to go in and fill that need right away. We have a whole system and a support team that can run in and give that student the lifeline that they need to make it and be sufficient and thrive. And also put them in the right environments if we need to, right? So that they're able to get what they need. If a student is physically malnourished, right? We have our snacks, right? Teachers, we have our snacks stashed in our drawer for our students who are hungry, right? We also go in and we provide that nourishment for those students. But historically, diverse learners have been cognitively deprived, and it actually goes way back to our beginning history. And so when we begin to go back and contextualize the history of education, it begins to make more sense. And it kind of takes away that sometimes divisive, got to choose a side that you're on. It helps us to really understand what's happening. I think about the difference between perception and reality, right? We all have to come to a point where we have to divide, right? What we think we know and what is really happening, right? And so if we were to ask, ladies, if we were to ask the average teacher, why did you become a teacher? What would they say? Oh, I became a teacher because I want to change the world. I want to inspire the next generation. I want to feed our future leaders, all wonderful, positive things. I want to invest in what's next. But then when you ask that same person, why was education created? And what is the purpose of this institution? And perception will have you believe it's the same things as why we as educators chose this profession, this beautiful profession. And history tells us it is not. And so in chapter 1 of the book, I really dive into that history so we can all have some common ground and some context around where equity really began to be boxed in the first place.
I like how you are able to, in a sense, bring us back to the foundation, because we all need to go back to where it all started when we come to this equity and making that association. If a child is hungry, we have the item to give them. When we talk about education, do we actually have that, and is it able to be equitable for all? Okay, that is a fantastic point. Now, you mentioned, before we wrap up this question about your book, before we go any further, tell us about the title of your book. We're going to talk some more about it, but I want to hear about the title, because that's going to kind of give us a little segue into where our topic is going for tonight.
Yes, the title of the book is Equity Outside of the Box, a framework for engaging diverse learners. So that's the title. So it's all about why equity has been packed away. What are those things that contribute to it continuing to be packed away? What are those barriers that make it difficult to open that box? We need to open that box. We need what's in there. And then what are some solutions to getting that box open? So in the book, you will find those 3 things, but it really walks you through starting with why, getting to the heart of it, like why, who's impacted, where can we begin to look to start to unpack equity? When should we start to do it, right? What does that when process look like? And who should we empower to do this work?
Excellent. I definitely have to get a copy of this book when it comes out, because I work with diverse learners every single day, and even though it sounds, I always say equity is something we all want to do. And we want to be equitable faculty, instructors, individuals, but it's easier said than done. So having a framework, at least as a guide, somewhere to start is definitely helpful. With that in mind, how then would you say could we manage or attempt to manage and cultivate positive connections between people and policies and practices in education?
It all begins with having that inquiry mindset. There are just two types of people, and you hit it right on the head, Shelley. There are, I'm sorry, I misspoke. There's only one type of person, a human, right? And humans choose to be equitable or not with every single decision. Every decision. So you can be that same beautiful spirit that you are and make an equitable decision one moment, and the next minute make an inequitable decision. We can make that equitable right decision to have content in our classrooms that reflect the rainbow of the world, and celebrating the diversity of the students that's in our classrooms, in our communities, and the world. But yet we can still, after making that great equitable decision, make another poor decision and turn around and go ahead and write several referrals for those diverse learners, right?
Yeah.
And causing them to be expelled and different things like that. Does that person still have a good heart and want to find equitable practices? Yes. But it is all about that cognitive consciousness, right? Where are we with understanding where we are on our equity journey? Before we can begin to unbox equity in schools, equity begins with me. And when every teacher believes that equity begins with me, and we start to unpack equity for ourselves and understand our perceptions and where we are on that equity continuum, that is when we're able to dive into context and have those conversations and build relationships that lead to a culture shift in our buildings.
I like how you talk regarding as individuals, we have that choice as to whether we have equity or not. You know, I want to ask you, when we think about that choice, and you know, there's an off topic conversation. Do you feel that individual with the choice they have consciously or unconsciously choose not to be equitable when it comes to their teaching practice?
I think both are happening at the same exact time, because we have to remember, we only know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. So this is where where we have that controversial talk about things, you have to choose a side. It doesn't work, because everyone has that decision every moment to choose to do that. But it's when we listen to learn and we reflect to relate, we begin to plant the seed to relationships that bloom equitable experiences. And that is the cure for that cognitive malnutrition, is when we can really begin to listen and learn to see things through the eyes of others, is when our perception starts to change.
Okay. So let me ask you then, how do we begin to facilitate and engage in those conversations so we are able to learn what we don't know in order for us to be, provide equity to those learners who are working with our diverse learners?
That is a great question. And I know that is something that I have researched over and over again. My personal philosophy is, come let us reason together. I am your keeper. I need to be edifying you just as you are edifying me. So always very collegial, working together in the mindset of lifting up each other. So in that same spirit, I always want to go back to why. Why aren't these conversations happening in the first place? Because I know they're happening in diverse learners' homes all the time. They are happening in the dominant cultures circles all the time, but separately, not together. But in a school, you have to ask yourself, what are those barriers that keep the conversation of equity trapped